Hey everyone, welcome to my channel where we talk about saxophone, learning from the masters, and overall musicianship. And today we're going to talk about mouthpiece exercises. Now you're probably wondering, why are we doing mouthpiece exercises? Is it a waste of time? Is it useful? It's kind of annoying, it's loud, it hurts my ears. Yes to maybe most of those and no to some of them. And the reason why we do mouthpiece exercises is because it helps us develop our embouchure and many other things. It's also the beginning of learning how to do voicings and how to shape your throat, your tongue, and your embouchure to get the sound you're looking for. And I started doing mouthpiece exercises after I went to a couple of master classes from actually two different kinds of saxophone players. One was actually Tamer Sullivan, who's a classical saxophonist, where he showed us that he liked to do some mouthpiece exercises, being able to hit an A down to an octave down. And then another masterclass that I went to on the opposite side of the spectrum is a jazz saxophone player, Tim Warfield, where he showed he started doing mouthpiece exercises after seeing trumpet player and brass players do mouthpiece exercises on their own, and he showed some of the exercises that he does. So if these two masters of the instrument are doing these exercises, and I also saw some video from Joe Allard, which I just kind of started finding out once I was doing a little bit of research on this, that he does mouthpiece exercises as well. So there's a lot of reasons why we should do these mouthpiece exercises. And so in this video, we're going to talk about one, why you should do mouthpiece exercises, and then two, the exercises that you can do to build up that skill over time. And by the way, if you want to do these exercises alongside me in this video or on your own, I have created a PDF down below of just straight mouthpiece exercises. It's just multiple pages of mouthpiece exercises to experiment with and to kind of see where you're at with your ability to do these on your own. So go ahead and give that a download and we'll continue on to this video. First, let's talk about why you want to do these exercises. There's 5 reasons that I have, and there's probably many more, but right now there's 5 main reasons as to why you want to do these mouthpiece exercises. The first reason is to find out your mouthpiece placement for your mouth, because that is one thing that you will figure out really quickly if you are either taking too much mouthpiece, taking too little mouthpiece, not rolling in your lip enough, rolling it out too much, and so on and so forth. So getting to know where that mouthpiece placement is really, really important. The second reason why you want to do these exercises is that it helps build embouchure strength. When you're trying to do these exercises, you want to have a good, firm, or loose embouchure, depending on if you're doing classical or jazz, but I still even think there is some firmness for the jazz saxophone sound. It's just not in the same sense as the classical. You don't want to just have just loose lips because it will cause your tone to be very spread out. So it'll help develop the strength of your embouchure. So making sure that one, you are having a nice round embouchure, not biting down on the reed. It will tire out your embouchure the first couple of times you do this, but it is really essential to kind of building that strength up. The third reason why you want to do mouthpiece exercises is the inner ear connection. When you hear a note in your head and you're able to reproduce it, that is a skill that you can build up so that you want to, when you perform or you want to play something in tune, you hear that note. So for example, if I sing a note, boop, so you want to be able to hear that note and reproduce it so that you can hear, like, so you have that mind, body, inner ear connection to your instrument. And this is how you build up the skill of making the saxophone an extension of you and your voice. So that is the third reason why you want to do these exercises. The fourth reason is it's kind of the introduction to voicings. If you saw my previous video on Donald Cento's book, Voicings, I talked about how the preliminary exercises he talks about is doing mouthpiece exercises. This is how you start to figure out how your tongue placement can affect the timbre, the tone, the tuning of the instrument by just moving it up and down, or shaping the oral cavity, your throat, your tongue placement, and your embouchure. So all of these things together is kind of the introduction of voicings. And then the fifth and final thing is where we talked about in the past how to gliss like Johnny Hodges. This is also a good way to start learning how to do those glisses, those smears, those bends, so that you can do, if you can do it on a mouthpiece, it is more likely you're going to be able to do it on the horn. Starting from the bottom. So if you're able to do some of those things on a mouthpiece, you will actually be able to transfer that to the saxophone. So now let's get on to the exercises and how to build this skill and this strength and add it to your daily routine. I just want to remind you that there is a free PDF down below of a bunch of mouthpiece exercises that you can try on your own. This is just a bunch of exercises that you can try that you can just do along with this video. So on to the exercises. Now there's 3 tools that you want to have when you're doing these mouthpiece exercises. I would recommend is 1, you need your mouthpiece, right? 2, having a tuner is very useful if you want to use a physical tuner, or a piano so that you can play against. And if you don't have a piano, what I actually like to do is I like to play against a drone. There's actually some drones that you can look up on Spotify, I think Apple Music, even YouTube has some cello drones. So this will give you an opportunity to play against a note that is consistent and see if you can match the pitch and the tuning. Earplugs are really useful, and I actually wear earplugs when I do these mouthpiece exercises because it can get quite piercing if you're in a small space or in a very reverberated space, and it can just ring your ears. So I recommend trying wearing some earplugs. So those are some tools that you can use while you're doing these exercises. So the first thing I talked about was mouth placement. Now, if you're taking too much mouthpiece, then you won't be able to control the bend or the timbre of the mouthpiece, but also you'll get quite a honky type sound on the mouthpiece. You hear how aggressive and honky that sounds? That is me basically getting all the way to my mouth to this point. Now, if you're taking too little mouthpiece, then you'll be getting a very thin kind of wispy sound. You hear how constricted and tight that sounds? And that's basically me doing it from this point here. Now, a tip that I learned many years ago is actually taking a piece of paper and putting it between the reed and the tip of the mouthpiece, and you'll see where it stops. You see where it stops right there? That is about where you want to place your mouth as far as possible. Now, this isn't a sure thing that you have to do, but it is a good guideline. So once you figure that out of where that mouthpiece placement is, then you'll get a little bit more of an open sound. You hear the difference between the 3? Let's do that again. Too much, too little, and then just right. Too much. Too little. Finding that placement. And you can experiment with putting it in your mouth and moving the mouthpiece and just kind of seeing where it feels like it sits just right, and also where you're getting that nice open sound. So you can start with too little and then move forward until you kind of find it. right there. So that is the first thing you want to do. And you want to think about, like I brought up in a previous video, your corners in. Drawstring in. And I saw someone actually leave a comment, which is a great point. Someone told them, it's like you're sucking in a straw. Or you can say E, ooh. And when you say ooh, when you do the ooh motion, you see your lips moving forward. And then once your lips move forward, ooh, just slightly put the mouthpiece into your mouth without rolling too much of your bottom lip. And ooh. Your bottom lip is that nice cushion that will help support the reed. So again, do not bite down on the reed, because when you bite down on the reed, let's see if we can get this focused just right. Well, I'm going to do it with my hands. So you have the reed, the mouthpiece. If you bite down, it'll clamp it. So you don't want to bite down on that reed. If you think about your corners in, really ooh, like that, ooh, and just thinking about your corners in, you're more than likely to produce a sound that you're looking for. So that's the first thing, is just getting that mouth placement. Now, we're not talking about what is the perfect first note. There are books out there that talk about different things. Eugene Rousseau, Don Cinta, and the like have said that on the alto mouthpiece, you want to get a concert A, and then a concert G for tenor, and a concert D for bari. Right now, when you're just learning this skill, just try to produce a tone that is as best as you can. And if it's slightly off the A or whatnot, then that is okay. Now let me see where I'm at. Right now I'm at an F sharp, which is fine. It's kind of where my mouth naturally sits for now, and it all depends on if you're trying to produce more of a classical saxophone sound or a jazz sound. So once you are able to produce a sound and get it to where you think you're like, this is it, I'm locked in, now we'll start getting into the exercises. So now we have the exercises where we start building up the skill of getting the pitch. And we're just going to start with a concert A for now. If you find, due to your setup, your mouthpiece, your reed, or just how your oral cavity sits, and you find that a concert A is just not sitting well for you, then that is fine. Like if it's lower, you don't want to go too much higher than a concert A, because that means that you are either biting down too much or your voicing is too high. So like, you hear how high, and see that one is, I'm getting a C there. So that is just too high and is too tight. And actually, if you're doing too high of a voicing or too tight of an embouchure, when you start playing notes that are flat, you're going to have a hard time getting that pitch up, So be mindful of where you're sitting. So I would recommend, if you're too high, if you're above an A, if you're at a C or B, try to get closer to a B flat or an A. But once you get there, we're going to start with just getting a consistent concert A. And like I said earlier, I like to use a drone. So I'll show you what I do with a drone. We're just going to start out with just hitting the pitch. Can you hit the pitch consistently? And you can play with a metronome or not, but I'm going to do it without a metronome, and I'm just going to show you what it's like with the drone. We're going to start with a concert A. All right, so we have that concert A. Now I'm going to do it without the drone. So my ears are already kind of ringing now, so that's why I recommend wearing some earplugs. But since I'm talking to you on the camera, I'm going to leave them off for now. But that is the first exercise. Can you just hit a pitch consistently? It can be concert A, it can be concert G, it can be concert B flat, no higher than a B flat. And hit that consistently, whole notes, double whole notes, and a break. And then you do the exercise again, but shorten the time because you want to be able to get to that pitch as quickly as possible. So right now, the reason why we're doing it so long is because we want to build that strength and build that foundation. And then once you have that, then you can do it for a shorter amount of time. So instead of 4 beats, you do it for 3. And then a half beat. And so on and so forth. Now, once you feel comfortable with that, and it might take you might get it the first day, you might not get it the second day, it might take you a week or a little longer, that's fine. Then we'll start building up the steps here. So now we'll do a concert A, and then we'll go down a half step. So we have the A, boo, then the half step down will be boo, getting that inner ear connection that I brought up earlier. There it is. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then go down a half step and then do a half step again. 3, just get the, now we're at concert A flat. And then you'll keep doing that until you get down to the D, the concert D, right? Let's get that D. And so now you have that fifth. So we're slowly progressing each a little bit so that you're building up the skill over time so that in the end you'll be able to do an octave, you'll be able to do some scales or some different kinds of exercises. And so once you get to that D, now we're going to practice glissing between the A and the D and then the A and the D so that you have like this slide down that you can practice of just seeing, can I start on this higher note and gliss down to this lower note and gliss back up. So we have the D, and then the, it would be the fifth. So you hear that, sing it. You can sing it and then hear, boo, boo. So we'll start on that high note, and then we'll go down to the D, and then back up. Again, I like to do it with a drone. Right? And then you can do it with quarter notes. And then once you've built up that gliss, next is, can you control going down in half steps all the way down to that D? It's one thing to be able to just slide it down, but you want to be able to control it. So you have the A, the concert A, so you want to be able to do that controlled. And if you want, you can slur or you can articulate in between. Just decide what you feel like will help you develop that sound. And then once you have that fifth, then you can start doing some small scales. Once you get that D, you'll go up a half step to E flat. and then another half step, and so on and so forth, to where you're building up that skill of having more control of your mouthpiece. And then once you've built that up, you can start from the D and then start going down in half steps down to the A. And what I'm showing you here is how to essentially, like in workouts or bodybuilding programs, progressively overloading. We're slowly building on top of the previous thing so that you can build up to that octave. Once you feel like you have an understanding of the half notes, the whole notes, and building up that octave, then you can start incorporating more exercises. You can start incorporating some scales, some thirds, some Clark studies. That's a famous thing that trumpet players or brass players do, is the Clark studies. So we start with the A, and you can start at the A and just do some thirds. Now, some final tips. There's tons more exercises that you can check out in this PDF, but some things to think about. How is your embouchure? How is your tongue placement? This is a really big thing to think about. And also, if you just want to, just experiment, just moving your tongue and just seeing how that affects the mouthpiece. Do your best to not change your embouchure, your lip placement, but just the placement of your tongue. So like you have your tongue in the E or the O, E, O, and just do that with the mouthpiece and see how that affects the sound. So if you find yourself being too high, your tongue placement might be too high. If you find yourself too low, your tongue placement will probably be too low. And also thinking about your throat and opening up that throat. So now, this is the conclusion of these exercises, but I also just want to leave you off with, this is something you only need to do 5 to maximum 10 minutes a day. This is building up a new skill in your throat cavity and also your oral cavity and your tongue placement and your embouchure, but also it can be strong on your ears, and you don't need it. This is not an exercise that the more is better. Really, consistent, limited time every day is your best friend. 5 to 10 minutes, that's it. Set a timer, and that's what I do. I'll put on a timer and I'll pick the exercises that I want to do. Now, another thing to think about is to not push past your comfort zone too much. You want to slowly build it down. If there's a certain note that you can't get below and you keep trying and you start feeling pain, stop. Go a little bit above and then just get that comfort level at that. So if the lowest you can get to is a D, hang out at that D and then build up that comfort and then slowly get down to a C sharp and then build that comfort and then go down to a C. This is not a race. This is not to see how you can get there the quickest. This is so that you can build and develop that sound so that when you grab your horn, your horn, you know what it feels like so that you can play evenly throughout the instrument. And also, what I brought up in the glissando video with Johnny Hodges, this is how you can start learning about how to do the front F trick, or even in the voicings book video. You can do a front F, So you start building up that voicing skill, and then you can start doing overtones. Things like that. So this concludes the mouthpiece exercise video. This is a very technique heavy video, but I hope you find some use out of it. And again, I know this is the third or fourth time I brought it up. Check out that PDF down below so that you can start doing some of these exercises, so that you can start slowly building up that skill of getting consistent on the mouthpiece. This is where your tone production comes from. It's from the mouthpiece, and then everything else comes from that. So if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this kind of video, leave a comment down below and let me know. And also give a like and subscribe, because I will be posting a lot more videos on how to produce a better tone on the saxophone and all the different things that I'm studying at the moment. Right now, it's Johnny Hodges. And I really appreciate your time. I hope you got great use out of this. If you want to learn more about the best beginner books for voicing, check out this video over here. If you want to know how to gliss like Johnny Hodges, check out this video over here. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.